The year was 1906, and the world had not yet gone to war. The American flag had only 45 stars. The population of Las Vegas, Nevada was 30. The Football Rules Committee legalized the forward pass. Two brothers from Dayton, Ohio received a patent for something called an aeroplane. And the Orthodox Old Age Home opened its doors on Orange Avenue near East 40th Street in Cleveland, Ohio, with just 5 residents. The Orthodox Old Age Home would eventually become Menorah Park and would forever be committed to excellence and expansion to meet the needs of the aging population. In 1968, the home moved from Lakeview Avenue to its current location on Cedar Road in Beechwood and adopted the name Menorah Park Jewish Home for the Aged. True to its commitment, Menorah Park has never stopped modernizing and expanding to meet the needs of all segments of the aging population. In 1978, the R.H. Myers Apartments, an independent living center for more than 240 tenants, opened. By the early to mid-1980s, a new model of care was emerging called assisted living.
I relocated to Cleveland here at Menorah Park in 1987. I felt that I was soon engulfed in a tidal wave. Everyone wanted to build a new building called a newfangled term assisted living. There was really nothing in Cleveland at the time. It seems that in 1987-88, when I was getting acclimated with my move here, Myers Apartments was up and running for about 10 years, but some people were too sick to stay at Myers or too sick to come into Myers. And we had our beautiful nursing home, but people were really too well to come into the nursing home. So people were asking me, do something, we need a place in between. And I really didn't know what to do. But I read in a magazine, some guy from Holland, a Dutch guy, started opening up these new residences called assisted living all over the country. There were French Tudor buildings he was building, very residential. And a few trustees and I took a plane to Washington and visited Fairfax, Virginia, where he had an assisted living residence. And we came back and said, we think we found it. We think we're going to do this on the Menorah Park campus.
Then the planning and fundraising began. Steve Rachelson and the board approached Irving Stone of blessed memory, founder of American Greetings, who was a longtime Menorah Park board member, as well as a senior living advocate.
If there is such a thing as a Jewish patron saint, Irving Stone would be our man. He was a remarkable individual, deeply committed to the Orthodox community, but in a larger sense within the entire Jewish community. And Irving was the man who really made this project easy and accessible because of his commitment to what we were trying to create.
Irving Stone was thrilled at the opportunity to participate and became the chief fundraiser for the project, funding over $1 million of his own money to get the project off the ground. In November of 1993, construction was underway.
We had a marvelous team. Steve Rachelson is our quarterback and the person we look to put everything together. We had a wonderful contractor, a Snavely company. Jane Snavely was in charge of the construction. And our architects were Perkins Eastman out of New York through their Pittsburgh office. These are people who were well qualified in the elderly field, and they worked well together. There was no recrimination, there was no finger pointing. It was all a team event, and whenever we had issues, we would meet and we would discuss them, and we would resolve them. My entire professional life has been in the construction field, and I don't think I've ever said that a project was fun except working in Menorah Park. It was really fun and enjoyable and rewarding. I have a wonderful story about Irving that warms me whenever I think about it. We were preparing a color board of the brick because we were concerned about having our building integrate into the larger campus and the color scheme. So we had the architects, Perkins Eastman, who were a wonderful firm, prepare color boards and samples of the brick, and we had them all lined up in the room, all sitting on the table. And Irving came from work. He was driven by his driver. He walked into the room, and we said, "Mr. Stone, this is the color samples that we have. We think that this will integrate beautifully with the colors that we have in our current buildings." Irving looked it over with kind of a jaundiced eye, and I'll never forget, he said, "All of my buildings are white, my car is white." He said, "This color is the color I use on my sympathy cards." He says, "It's schmutz on schmutz." And that was the end of the conversation. Irving had made a decision, and in retrospect, it was a wonderful decision because the buildings have a freshness and a uniqueness on the campus that is in keeping with the people that we have there and the lifestyle that we encourage.
We opened up the building, and from day one of opening, everybody moved in 2 weeks, all 60 people, and we had 30 people on the waiting list a week after opening the building. And which I felt good, at least I know we were going to have empty apartments, which could have been a real financial stress for us. So at a board meeting, the month after we opened, I had my executive director's report, and I said, "By the way, Stone Gardens is doing great, everybody's moved in. We have a waiting list of 27 people." And everyone was patting themselves on the shoulders, "Great job," and boy, we really nailed that one. And nobody even thought, since we opened up the existing building a month before, we wanted to plan a new one right away, an existing addition, or new addition. So I get a call the next day after the board meeting, and from Irving Stone. He says, "How much do you need?" over the phone. And I didn't know what he was talking about. I said, "What do I need for what?" He says, "Well, aren't you going to build a new wing?" And this was, a day after the board meeting, a month after we opened. And already he said, "I think you need probably another $1 million. And we didn't have a project. And I said, "Okay." And next week, he wire transferred $1 million of American Greetings stock in our stock account. And you could certainly understand. I started planning that addition that next week with $1 million in the bank. But there was the type of man Irving Stone was. And what we tried to do is reflect his graciousness and his love of seniors, Jewish seniors, and every staff member we hired and every program we implemented. We wanted this to be a very Hamish, loving community, and it has. And I think that's why it's been so popular over the last 20 years. It's why, without a beat, we built 2 additions, one in 1997 and one in 2002 or 2003. They were filled up right away, and today we still have a very long waiting list.
Today, Stone Gardens boasts 104 assisted living apartments and 14 apartments in Helen's Place, an innovative, world-class, groundbreaking model of memory care assisted living located within Stone Gardens and named after Helen Stone of blessed memory, Irving's wife. Stone Gardens has housed thousands of residents over the last 20 years. Our goal is to keep each person as independent as possible while offering the support they need to maintain the highest quality of life. With 24-hour nursing care, all dietary needs taken care of, housekeeping, maintenance, and personal care included, and a full schedule of activities and outings, our residents are happy, healthy, and vibrant in our Stone Gardens community.
When I think about our community and what it means to all the residents, I think about one resident in particular, Larry Reese. He moved in literally the day that I started work, and I met him and his father, Jake. Unfortunately, Larry's uncle died that same day, and actually I was with him when he died. And so I had a very close connection to Larry and Jake. Larry was a man who lived with his family all his life. He was never married, and Larry had some challenges. After his father died several years later, it really became apparent that Larry needed a lot of help from staff, and the staff really welcomed him. Larry had never had friendships outside of his family. We taught him how to make friends. Larry never learned how to read, so we taught him how to read. One of our staff members volunteered to teach Larry how to read. Larry rode the bicycle, and he loved riding the bicycle. I did a small calculation. Larry went on virtually every outing Stone Gardens has ever had. And so in his life at Stone Gardens, I believe he went over 1,300 different outings and ate every kind of food that Cleveland has to offer, something he never did when he was living at home. And lastly, Larry learned about love. He learned about girls, he learned about relationships, he learned how to have fun with others and respect their boundaries. And Larry really led a full life. He was adopted by all the residents. He had stepfathers and stepmothers all over the facility. And he really was, you know, like the life of a lot of us. And we all miss him terribly, but he's one example of that sense of community, that family at Stone Gardens.
Stone Gardens Assisted Living on the campus of the Menorah Park Center for Senior Living. 20 years of providing quality, person-centered care.
When I think about the future at Stone Gardens, I think about us continuing to innovate and offering new services and continuing that community sense that we have among all the residents. From the inside, we know that Stone Gardens is really a community where people come to live. But for a lot of people, it's scary to think about assisted living and senior living. But we've had people get married at Stone Gardens. We've had long lost loves recovered. We have thrill seekers who have taken motorcycle rides. We have a bicycle program where if you've never seen a 98-year-old get on a bicycle for the first time in their life and see that huge smile on their face, it's a real thrill. And so what will that new bicycle ride be in the future? I don't know. But that's what I want to see us doing. We need to continue to innovate and to reflect the values of our own residents.
Stone Gardens, building upon our past to provide a better future for generations to come.